Today on Substance Stories, we're going to be talking about negative reinforcement and trying to work out why it is you're using that substance. So it's really important to always think about why we're using a substance. So I've talked in previous podcasts about how a lot of people think that addiction is when we go from doing something to have a good time to doing something to not have a bad time. And the sort of psychological term for doing something to not have a bad time is called negative reinforcement. So people often confuse negative reinforcement with punishment. Punishment is I do something and I get slapped, and so I try not to do it again. And negative reinforcement is I'm getting slapped continuously. I do something, I get temporarily stop getting slapped before return to getting slapped. It's a removal of a negative stimuli, right? And I think that addiction is negative reinforcement driven, I think is really, really important to keep in mind, because we should look at how we're engaging with this substance or behavior and what is the driver. So I get really worried when people say, geez, I've had a hard day at work. I'm going to buy a bottle of wine on the way home. That is the exact time that we shouldn't be doing that. When we've had a hard day or we're under high amounts of stress, we should be leaning on healthy coping mechanisms. We should be thinking, geez, you know what? I've had a really hard day at work. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to, call a friend and have a long chat, or I'm going to go to the gym and try and burn off some of that emotion. Engaging in an addictive behavior, even though we might not be addicted at that stage, but engaging in an addictive behavior when we're in a high stress state and we're using it as a negative reinforcer, I think is the exact opposite of what we want to be doing with our substance use. So every time we're thinking about using a substance that we're not addicted to, we don't have an addiction here. This is just engagement with with anything that can be addictive. We should be thinking, what is the driver? Am I doing this because I can't make myself feel happy another way? And if I can't make myself feel happy another way, that's a problem. And I need to be trying to find a way to feel happy. I think one of the common things I think here is, it helps shut off the thoughts, and I get really distressed with all these thoughts in my head. Well, that's a skill that we learn to get used to the thoughts in our head and get used to things. There's no bad emotions or good emotions. There are sad emotions, but sometimes we feel sad, and that's a normal thing. It was explained to me once as like yoga. The first time you do a yoga pose, it's really hard to get there and you can't really hold it for long. The second time you can hold it for a bit longer, the third time even longer, and you can go further. That is all emotional states. The longer we sit in them and learn how to exist in them and don't fight them, but accept them for what they are, the better we get at them. So when we are thinking about using a substance, we should be thinking, am I doing this as a negative reinforcer? And if I am doing this as a negative reinforcer, I should stop. If I'm doing this as a positive reinforcer and I don't have an addiction to it, or an addiction at all, let's say I got a promotion at work and I'm going to go out with a friend and get a drink, that's a fantastic idea. But when I didn't get that promotion at work, and I'm thinking, geez, I should go drown my sorrows, that's a terrible idea. And that's the sort of behavior we need to be avoiding in our day-to-day life. Hope this has been helpful.